Policy Research. We're really excited about our event today to have Sarahi Espinoza Salamanca here today. I'm glad to see some familiar faces, some new faces, hope some more faces trickle in. Today, first I want to start by thanking our sponsors. So first, RISE, Rising Immigrant Scholars Through Education, for co-sponsoring the event, especially Paola Mora Paredes for putting that sponsorship together and helping us out. Meng So, who also contributed to putting this event together. We're a small team here at the CLPR, so I'm going to have to thank everyone, like all 5 of us. The director of the center, Patricia Bacano Lopez, Sujei Reynoso, Petra Pilar, Ulises Serrano, Jasmine Firo, Veronica Lira, Omar Davila, Blanca Gamez Jokic, and our video person for the day, Daniela Rivero Rodriguez. Quick announcement, upcoming event for the CLPR, we'll be hosting a Day of the Dead poetry session, reception, and House of Altars on November 2nd. We'll have more details about that, but it'll be November 2nd at 5 p.m. Check out our website, clpr.berkeley.edu for more details, or come ask us about it during the reception. Another quick announcement, please turn off your cell phones so we don't interrupt the speaker. And if you haven't signed in yet, be sure to sign in the sheet that is at the front, or we'll pass it around. The format for today will be, I'll introduce Sarahi. I'll introduce what the Latinos in Tech Initiative is all about. Then I will moderate a few questions for Sarahi that are connected to the Latinos in Tech Initiative, and then I'll open it up to Q&A from the rest of the audience. So what we're trying to do here with the Latinos in Tech Initiative at CLPR, it's a new initiative we started this year, taking advantage of our proximity to Silicon Valley. The initiative is bridging dialogue between scholars from local universities, community members, and representatives of the tech industry to help shape relevant policies to increase the number of Latinos in tech industry. So increasing the number is part of it. Another important part of it is bringing together these different threads of discourse that put together the diversity in tech discourse by providing the necessary space for more critical dialogue to take place between key actors in this discourse, and provide the institutional backing and mode of distribution for resulting research. So today's event is part of this overarching initiative. It's my pleasure to introduce Sarahi now. Sarahi Espinoza Salamanca was brought to the United States from Mexico by her parents when she was just 4 years old. Needless to say, her experiences between Los Angeles and Bay Area here as an immigrant have been difficult, to say the least, and like so many of our students, has encountered barriers put forth by the immigration system. Sarahi applied for DACA, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival status, in October 2012. As one of 600,000 recipients, she became eligible for a driver's license and employment. After enrolling at Cañada College in the fall of 2013, her first job was as an environmental science and technology instructor for the Girl Scouts of Northern California. Sarahi taught herself on code.org to do basic programming, HTML, I imagine CSS, so she could update her website, sarahi.tv, which you should all check out, that she launched in 2012 to educate other low-income and undocumented students about scholarship opportunities and local networking and educational events. Sarahi, you've probably seen her on the news, on TV. She's received national recognition for her creation of Dreamers RoadMap, a mobile app to help undocumented students find scholarship opportunities, and I'll let her tell you more about that today. In 2014, Sarahi was honored by President Obama as a White House Champion of Change. Earlier this year, Sarahi was selected as a first place winner of the national competition Voto Latino Innovators Challenge. In November 2013, Sarahi was one of 20 dreamers who joined Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg in the Forward.us hackathon. Most recently, Sarahi was in Washington, D.C. as a panelist for the Aspen Institute's Latino and Society program. There, she was invited to talk about Dreamers RoadMap and discussed how Latinos are driving the new economy through innovation, creativity, entrepreneurship, and inclusion efforts. On the Cañada campus, Sarahi is extremely active with a number of organizations. She serves as president and founder of the Dreamers Club. She's a peer mentor as part of Beating the Odds peer mentorship program, and as part of EOPS. She received an award for attracting more students to the program last year. She recently also received the Cañada College's Outstanding Achievement in Leadership Award, which highlighted Sarahi's leadership in creating positive change for fellow students. So I'm humbled to introduce Sarahi. So many awards you've gotten recently. What's keeping her busy mostly these days is managing her app, Dreamer's RoadMap, which she'll get to describe her journey, how she got there, and how she's managing that today. Please join me in welcoming Sarahi Espinoza Salamanca.
Hello everybody, and thank you for coming up today and hearing a little bit more about my story. So in this slide, it's kind of like a really brief run through of the bio that Hector just read. So as he mentioned, I am a dreamer. Like many of us know, I don't think I need to define what dreamer is. I came to the United States at the age of 4, went through the whole educational system, not knowing that my status was going to affect me by the time I went to apply for college. Senior year comes, I apply for FAFSA like all my other friends, was denied because I didn't have a social. So at that point, I feel like my world was crashing down on me. I didn't know where to look for resources. Where my friends were looking was not something eligible for me. I didn't qualify for the scholarships they were applying for, and I didn't qualify for the financial aid that the government was providing for them. And at that time, there was not a lot of resources. As I was talking to somebody earlier, oh, you move seats. I graduated in 2008, and back then there wasn't resources for us. There wasn't all these new programs or organizations or foundations that donated money to students like us. So when I graduated from high school, I was crushed, I was confused, I didn't understand why us as undocumented students were segregated from all those opportunities just because of a lack of a 9-digit number. So that's kind of where like my whole trajectory started in terms of becoming so passionate about the immigration movement and most particularly about students and dreamers like us. So yes, in 2012, at the park, I met my mentor, Jesse, who's down here. I was a nanny, and I don't know why, I started telling him all these aspirations and dreams that I had to like help my community and give back. And he's like, well, why don't you do it? I'm like, well, I can't. And he's like, what do you mean you can't? Yes, you can. And I was like, no, I really can't. Like, you don't even know, like, the struggle. And he's like, well, is there anything that I can do to help you? So that's kind of where it all started. I opened up to like a total stranger, and this stranger is now my mentor. And because of him, I am where I am today. He believed in me, and he like pushed me to, I guess, places where I didn't think I would ever see myself in. I started meeting all these like other professional Latinos, which I thought didn't exist because we couldn't go to college. And I started to meet dreamers that had already graduated, and I was like, whoa, like, how did you do that? Like, where did you get money? Like, it is possible. So being pushed by him, I was inspired to create Sarahi.tv in 2012, where it was kind of like a blog-based type thing, where I would post scholarship opportunities and local networking events. Because when I started going to networking events with him, I started to learn that if you don't have a strong network, you really don't have anything. Even though you have a degree and you have a piece of paper that certifies you with a professional career, if you don't know people in the companies or in the big places, you can't really get a job. And firsthand, I've had friends who have graduated and have their degree and are still struggling to find a job because they didn't take the time to network. So I wanted to bring that back into my community and say, okay, kids, you know what, like, you have to network, go to school, yes, it's important, but also on your free time, instead of going to like the club or to the bar, go to a networking event, go meet other professionals, go meet people who look like us, who don't look like us, who could potentially become your mentor and give you a job at the next big company, right? So yes, in 2012 I applied for DACA. I get my social security card number, finally, that 9-digit number that I was like anxiously wanting in 2008, and I was so mad when it came in the mail. Because it was this flimsy little paper with my name, like 9 little numbers that labeled me that I was here legally, right? And it was like a struggle for me to kind of see that paper, because I was like, it's so easy for them to just send that to me. I just had to apply. They just sent it and assigned it, and so many people in our community, parents, classmates, tios, tias, neighbors, that's all they want, right? They just want that number and that opportunity to be like recognized as a human being, because you're not even like, you're like invisible. You don't have that number, you don't exist. So when that came in, I had like a little bit of mixed emotions, but at the same time I was really happy that I was finally being recognized as a human being here in the United States, and the only place that I knew as my home, because I got here at such a young age. So I got this really cool job at Girl Scouts of Northern California, teaching all these little girls STEM programs, which was kind of one of my first steps into STEM. I would go into low-income communities and provide this program for the little girls, and I think just like seeing their face when they would like learn how to do a circuit and they would like put it together and the light would go on or a noise would go on, they were like amazed, and I'm like, it's that easy, like you could be an engineer, you can make bigger things, you can create the next, I don't know, flying car or something. So I think that going into my community and giving this opportunity to the girls to see that there's so much more out there in terms of career options was very gratifying to me. And when I went back to school, I started the Dreamers Club on campus because, again, I felt that when I was in high school, I didn't have those resources provided or advertised by school to me. So when I went to this school, I was kind of looking like, oh, where do you guys have a Dreamers Club? Like, what do you guys do for Dreamers? They're like, oh, we don't have a Dreamers Club, but we have a Dreamers Task Force, which is like teachers and staff, I believe, that would support students, like undocumented students on campus, but there was no student organization. So I took the initiative to start that, and I'm very proud to say that now we're one of the biggest clubs on campus, and we, right here in this picture, we partnered up with a legal services organization in East Palo Alto, where here we served all those, the majority of all those students there to get a free DACA services from lawyers. So right here we were partnering with Goodwin and Proctor, which are in Menlo Park. And that was also very gratifying to me. In 2013 was my first time that I kind of stepped foot into what's a hackathon. I had no idea what that was, had never heard that word, but I heard competition, I heard opportunity, I heard dreamers, and I'm like, I'm there. So I applied for this Forward.us Dreamer Hackathon in 2013, and yes, the requirement said you had to know how to code, and you had to be like a super techie person, and I'm like, well, I technically know how to code, it's super basic HTML, but I know. I'm not super techie, but I really want to go. So I applied anyways. I applied, and yes, you had to go through like 3 interviews or something, and they were only going to choose 20 dreamers, so I was like really nervous. I was like, oh man, I hope they pick me. And they did. I think that through the phone, they heard my enthusiasm that I really wanted to go. And I had the opportunity to meet Mark Zuckerberg there. And that's where it all began, of me being involved in tech. In 2014, I was recognized by the White House as a champion of change for the work that I was doing in the low-income communities with the little girls from Girl Scouts, and also my work on Sarahi.tv and giving back to my community through a web-based. And other couple awards that I've gotten from my school with former Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, Mujeres Destacadas from El Mensajero, and I don't know if you guys watch Univision, maybe on the news, but Maria Leticia was there too. That was pretty cool to meet her. She's really nice. But yeah, so then after that, 2014 passes, 2015 gets here. In 2014, my friend Teek on the top right, big guy, sends me a link, and he's like, I think you should apply for this. I'm like, well, what's this? He's like, look into it. So I did, and it was a competition. It was called the Voto Latino Innovators Challenge. And it basically was that you had to have a solution to a problem in the Latino community, and you had to find the solution using technology. So I was like, perfect, I have Sarahi.tv. And Sarahi.tv was focused on low income and undocumented, but I always wanted to do something that's just focused on undocumented. Because I feel like for low income, there's a lot of resources and help already, but I'm from both of those communities, so I started off with that. So when I saw this opportunity from Voto Latino, I said, I can launch my app. I can make what I do for Sarahi.tv on just scholarships, which is one of the hardest things to find when you're trying to go to college, find money, make it an app, and and let's see what they say. So yes, I applied in November 2014, I'm sorry, and by January 2015, they let me know that I was one of the top 9 who entered the competition. So I go to Washington, D.C., and I was feeling really confident, really happy for the opportunity, and confident mostly because I knew this was something that I was passionate about. It wasn't just something that I was like, oh, I came up with an idea and I want to go get some money for it. It was something personal, and that I knew that this tool wasn't out there, and it was really necessary for students like me. So I went, I gave my pitch to the judges, and they believed in me and they believed in my idea. And the idea was that to create Dreamers RoadMap, which is a mobile app that's going to help undocumented students across the nation find scholarship opportunities. And how Dreamers RoadMap is going to be different from other apps. I don't know if you guys have, well, I had to do a ton of research in terms of what's out there, but I don't know if you guys have done any. There's no app out there that just focuses on undocumented students. There's apps that focus on the general population, but again, most of the requirements, you have to be a US citizen, you have to be a permanent resident. So again, we don't qualify. We fall back into that like vicious circle of like there's still nothing built specific to us. So how Dreamers RoadMap is going to be different is that it's going to ask you, like, it's going to ask the students, first of all, where they are in their educational path. Are they in high school? Are they in undergrad? Are they doing grad school? After that, it's going to ask you what state you're in, because each state has different policies. It's also going to ask you in terms of even more in-depth after the state. For example, California, if you're in California, if I put, well, I am in community college, I live in California, I have AB 540, and I have DACA. So with those filters, with our database that we've done research and generated, we will funnel all the scholarships that you're specifically eligible for on our database. So I was really, really happy that I was given the opportunity to win Voto Latino's first place prize, which was $100,000 to make this project a reality. And yeah, so if you guys want to learn more about Dreamers RoadMap, you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. You can email us. We are right now in developing stages. We were hoping to launch this fall, but I didn't know how long it took to start a company. So it's longer than I thought, definitely. I won the competition in March. I'm like, oh yeah, by this fall I'm totally gonna launch, because that's the big chunk of when they're due, and then they're again due in the spring. So unfortunately, because of the time that it takes to do all the paperwork in terms of the grant, and then to incorporate as a 501c3, because we're a nonprofit, we're kind of one of the first in the industry where we're like an app, but we're a nonprofit. So they were really confused with, wait, what do you mean you're an app, but you're a nonprofit? Like, they didn't understand it. There's a lot of explanation back and forth with people, but we finally got that. We were incorporated as a 501c3, and we started development about 2 months ago. So we're working really hard to make it as easy as possible for all of us to be able to have access to those resources that are out there, and make it easier for us definitely to try to make it through that journey, and not only for us who are already there, but to inspire the younger generations who are still dreamers, who still don't have that 9-digit number, or who have it but still are not permanent residents, and encourage them that there is a way, that if they want to go to college, now there's a tool that's going to help them get there a little bit easier. So thank you for your time.
Yeah.